Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums, your second one today here on this Sunday. And this time we got in the co-captain's chair, Jamie Laszlo leaves, Rick LaBonte comes in. What's happening, Rick? How you doing?
Very good, my friend. Had a great gig last night. We celebrated 12 years with my band, The Formula, and yeah, feeling still charged from yesterday's performance. They had people waiting outside; they couldn't come in, so
Good.
it was a good way to celebrate 12 years with my buddies.
Awesome. Yeah, people are starving for live music, and I think I'm
Yes,
starting to go see more stuff, and there's live things happening everywhere. And yeah, it's hopefully we're getting back into a better place. Obviously the rest of the world is having lots of issues, and we all
yes.
feel for them and pull for them. But for today, we're going to talk about another. For those of you who didn't catch it, just a little bit ago, we did a ranking the albums of a really great band called Chemists, who have four outstanding albums, only four, and all of them are equally great. We're going to do the same thing here once again. The Neal Morse Band, who have four records, four studio albums, and all four of them are absolutely terrific. But here, a little bit different. Chemist, the band, 40, 45-minute long albums. Well, not so much with the Neal Morse Band, right? You got double
No,
albums and hour plus and 2 hours, and this is prog rock we're talking about here. Big,
absolutely.
bombastic, full of hooks, great instrumentation, but a super band, a really super band comprised of Neal Morse, formerly of Spock's Beard, also has his own solo career, also with Transatlantic, also with Flying Colors. There's other things he's worked on vocals, keyboards, guitars. We've got Mr. Mike Portnoy, formerly of Dream Theater, also of Transatlantic and the Winery Dogs and all sorts of other projects on drums and backing vocals, occasional lead vocals. We got a very talented guy named Eric Gillette on guitars and vocals, lead vocals and backing vocals. Terrific player. We got Eric Hubauer, not Eric Hubauer.
No, Gillette.
Yeah, I'm Bill Hubauer. So Eric Gillette, Bill
Yes,
Hubauer on keyboards. I got their first names mixed up there. On keyboards, also lead vocals, and then the great rock steady Randy George on bass and
on
bass pedal.
bass. Yes.
And this same lineup has been on all four albums. Rick and I both saw these guys live at different gigs over the last couple of weeks. Absolutely terrific. I had never seen them live before, so this was a first for me. And yeah, amazing, amazing band.
Yes, that was my second time saw him. I saw the Great Ventor show, and they were great. I was in front row, and Randy gave me a pick, and this time I was in front row again, and I got the set list.
There you
I
go.
even got a chance to have a selfie with Neil. I'm performing, and he comes up, and he was just a great guy. He's just a passionate person, and I also got to meet him. I was the first line to meet at the Greek. The Greek meet and greet session, and they were awesome people, so good people. And Mike said hi, by the way, and I told him I was gonna do the ranking with this, and uh, and like you said, they're all great. So how do you do it? Greater, greatest, awesomest. I mean, how do you rate it? So it was fun to relive all these albums again, and it is, like you said, lengthy double album. It's a commitment, but fantastic. And I love the fact that you introduced everybody because yes, it's a Neal Morse band. And he is the leader and the singer and the front man, but everybody sings, everybody shines in this band. It is a band project. Everybody really come to their own, and I just think that any one of these albums, regardless of the order that me and Pete do, they're all fantastic. You're gonna have your own favorite ranking for whatever reason. We'll explain why we do ours. But I was surprised how much that when I went going in there, I had my mind thought of what it was gonna be, and after listening for a couple of weeks prior to this and seeing them in concert, all kinds of new favorites of the songs start popping through, and it really made my ranking today. So it could change in a couple of weeks if I start playing the one
Yeah, I mean
album
that's
more
the
than the
thing.
other.
That's the thing. And Jamie and I kind of talked about that when we did the previous episode earlier today. It's like when you have a small catalog that's so strong, it's almost like an episode like this becomes like, well, we're going to rank them, but it could change tomorrow. And quite frankly, they're all so close that it's more like we're just giving each album a little bit of space to talk about each one of them. And I think if
Right on.
someone's watching this right now and they're like, okay, cool, only 4 albums, which is the first one I should start with? Start with any of them. It doesn't really matter.
Yes,
Start from the beginning, start from the most recent one, work your way back, get all of them at once, whatever you can do. It doesn't really
I
matter. They're
agree.
all really good. Go with our number ones, whatever. They're all really good. And I think I do want to stress, because I don't think I really appreciated it as much from just listening to the albums for all these years. But when you go see them live, you really appreciate just how much of a true band it is. Like Rick was saying, it's yes, it's the Neal Morse Band, but you go see him live. Bill sings a lot of songs.
Yep.
Eric sings a lot of songs. Neal sings a lot of songs. Mike adds plenty of backing vocals and the occasional little lead thing. These guys, it's a band. This is
Yes,
not
it is.
the Neal Morse show, even though, yes, he's out front and yes, he's the guy everybody looks at. But man, you got Eric Gillette, who is a virtuoso on the guitar. He's got the
Agreed.
look. He's got a great voice. You got Bill adding all those 70s keyboard sounds and a great singer as well. And
Yes.
of course, you got Neal out front, who's playing keyboards, singing, playing guitar, right? So it's, yeah, this is, Portnoy and Randy. I mean, just rock solid rhythms. This is a band. This is not a
Yes.
solo vehicle for Neal. He does that too, but this
Yep.
is great stuff. So we got 4 albums here. We're going to rank them from number 4 to number 1, and I'll have Rick kick us off with his number 4.
Okay, now, like I said, I was surprised that I was gonna actually start with this at number five because I have it. Like, yeah, they're so important to me as following the music, and but I'm gonna go with this one only because um, when you get to my number one, this was often called the sister album to that, and so to me, a lot of the wow factors I've already heard in the ranking already strong here. But I'm gonna go with the Great Adventure. It's a great double album. It was my first uh, tour that I saw them on in Pontiac, Michigan, and this is a fantastic record. It is a concept album, a double album, Act One and Act Two, and the two separate CDs. Lot of strong songs in here. I mean. I would have thought this would be higher from before coming in here, but I've been listening to all these albums again, and some songs are just stand out so much. But this is a package deal. But there are some songs that really stand out that they did videos for good reason because it is a tune that can stand on its own without the rest of the album concept, and that is "Welcome to the World." That's a really good hit when they play that live. But there's so many cool things in here. But they also do a lot of jamming. They do a lot of vocal harmony stuff. They do so many elements of this band that you really are going for a ride. You're going for an experience. And so if I start pointing out some songs like The Great Adventure, it's a great song. Hey ho, let's go. That's awesome. Beyond the Border is awesome. Then of course how they end the album, Love That Never Dies. Beautiful. There's so many strong moments, but they all blend in such a fashion that, like a Tommy, like Quadrophenia, they got away with putting out a music that you hear as a whole package. And every now and then, they give you a little similar theme of that music throughout the album to make it feel like an album. So great, because it's at the first one I'm talking about today. It's a strong album. It's a magnificent. It's a masterpiece. For most people haven't able to do what they did in this record, and they do it almost on every album, is really shine musically, vocally, sonically, the production and everything, and the story is very good. So yeah, The Great Adventure, it is an adventure. When you are committed to the two CDs, just understand you're going. And I like the way Randy Joy described the band right off the bat. You're right, it's prog, but he calls it cinematic rock because it's like motion picture soundtrack to movies that you're feeling the scene, and then they can rock. I mean, that's why he called it rock. They can really kick ass. Like Dream Theater territory, like some of the bands that we like, and then they able to reflect some of the great things of the past, Genesis, yes, and of their own careers, Softwood, anything that you already like about their individual careers, they put it all in here, but they do it in a Neal Morse way that it is a band that is a truly a great band album. And there was some apprehensive about putting another double album because they just did that when they did that, and yet what a success story. Some people would say, hey, you know what, you guys should quit while you had they. I don't suggest that. They did it well. Not too many people can do a double album this full potent, and you don't walk away saying, wow, that was fantastic. I mean, some people might just feel that way. Just listen to disc one, you can walk away and say that was amazing. And there's another disc like that. That's my pick.
Cool. Yeah. I wouldn't go, I wouldn't be too far removed from saying that some of these albums are like the great rock operas of yesteryear, like, those couple Who classics, right? I mean, that's kind of how they come across. It's a whole storyline. It's, you got the different vocalists, and it's just bombastic and kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the world. And it's just great stuff, right? It's just
Yes, a lot of hooks all the way through it,
yeah,
right? As well as being proggy.
The hooks are everywhere. I mean, well, it doesn't hurt that both, especially Neal and Mike. I know Mike fairly well personally. Huge Beatles fans, right? But that element has always been in the music of Neal Morse. I mean, if you go back to the early Spock's Beard stuff, I mean, there was a Beatles element in addition to the Genesis, Yes, Gentle Giant type of thing, right? So that has always followed him around, and that's just part of the music, right? So all that being said, my number 4, again, this is hard. Because all 4 are so great. I'm going to go with the first album, The Grand Experiment from 2015. Maybe not as epic as the stuff that followed it, right? But it's still a Neal Morse and company album. It's still, what's interesting about this particular album, if you kind of read up on the history of this band, they went into the studio. They had never done anything as a band before, but Neal has worked with all these guys previously, and they went into the studio with no real concrete ideas and just wrote the whole album in the studio. Which a lot of these other ones, the genesis of them had, Neal is already writing the story, and they've got all these things here. They just went in. It's like, okay, let's just do an album, and it's going to be a Neal Morse Band album. So, but they came out with a bunch of excellent songs. The title track is great. Title track reminds me of Styx a little bit. I like some of the vocal harmonies on some of these albums have that kind of early Styx type of thing going on. But again, you've got the multiple singers, right? So that's why with Styx you've got Dennis and Tommy and James. Here you've got the other 3, so it works out really well. Actually, 4 of them pretty much. What else? The Call is a great big bombastic track. Waterfall is just gorgeous. I mean, that's like pop and folk and prog all mixed together. A must for anybody who loves like latter 70s Genesis. Alive Again is the big epic on the album. It's got some sick instrumental bits. I'm telling you, folks, Eric Gillette is a monster guitar player. If you like John Petrucci from Dream Theater, or maybe Michael Romeo from Symphony X, Eric Gillette is the real deal. He can shred. He can play tasty, slower stuff. He's a great singer. Really, really great player. I think it's a really strong debut. I love it.
I do.
Something's got to come in at number 4, right? So so that's where it sits for me.
Well, I was in the same boat. I was either between that album and that album. I started to start in place, and that will be my next one. Is the Grand Experiment. I think it's awesome. First album, but what I like about it that it is perfect. Like with the Great Adventure, there's some jamming fillers on purpose, right? They needed some of those moments when you do an epic concept album. Sometimes it can't be just character building. They need to be able to flesh out the band. And so that's what makes this album a perfect album, because every song is there perfect. There's no filler. It's all killer. And I'm not saying they got filler, but you know what I mean. When you do the Tommy, they put Sparks, and I love Spark, but that's an instrumental jam to help feed in the drama. Well, with this is all songs, right? And I like the way they did it. They put the songs in the front, and the big epic at the end, right? Like the grand finale. And so I agree with you. What a great record. And it does do exactly what you said. It reflects a lot of great tribute to the band that they all loved in the past. It demonstrated in here. Vocally, you can hear the Beatles in there. You can hear that Genesis touch. I hear a couple of the Kansas movement. Some of the way the way the arrangements are, and it's so catchy. It had that pop element that I like. See, when I do my music too, I always want to give a little bit of pop hook so people can walk away with that melody. They do that. In fact, you curse with it. That chorus, you'll walk away until you hear another song. You keep hearing the chorus is over, whether it's the Agenda, the Waterfall, the Call. But anyway, and then when you get to see them do these songs live, it's just powerful. And they usually do a lot of these songs at the grand finale on an encore thing, coming back, hitting some songs like The Call. So great choice for you to even start with. To me, I was thinking between those two guys, two albums, because of the fact that. But when I was listening to this the other day, how much that everything is just perfect record. In fact, that's what I like about the most recent record. Even though it's a double album, they put all the pop songs on one disc, and then they put the epic at the end, the second disc. For those who don't want to have a diet of such, epic complexity music, you go with that first disc for a while. Well, they kind of did that with this album. They threw all these songs to get you hooked in, reel you in, and say, "Hey, what do you think? We're a pretty good rock band with all these poppy hooks." And yet we show off our talent, and then they do the prog epic alive again, and all these songs are very positive. We need a lot
Oh
more of
yeah,
that in this world right now.
yeah.
And they're always giving uplifting, positive things that, if you saw the glass half full or half empty, it's actually half full. They put a positive spin on all those aspects of life.
Yep, yep. Well said. I agree. My number three is going to be The Great Adventure, third album, and the sequel to Similitude of a Dream. I would say, and we're going to talk more about that in a bit, obviously, but I would say this, is a great successor to a great concept album. It's not often that when bands do sequels to big concept albums that they turn out well. Here, I think it absolutely did. And it's funny because, they actually went into the studio and started putting together a completely different album, but Mr. Morse had been feeling this pull to revisit the storyline of Similitude of a Dream. And
That's
in the
right.
middle of the recording session, he convinced the rest of the band to scrap everything they'd already done and go and work on the storyline again, the sequel to Similitude. And I think it's great. It's, it's set up act one and act two, set up in chapters. So while you do have, like Rick said, you do have some strong individual songs on here, like the overture is great.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got, Welcome to the World, like I mentioned, Beg, Steal, or Borrow, which got a great chorus, right? So good. The title track, Child of Wonder, all really good individual tracks. But for me, I always like to hear this and the original. This is a sequel to another album we're going to talk to.
That's right.
I like to hear those through and through. These
too.
are a play from start to finish albums for me. And I know, it's a commitment, right? To ask
Yes.
the viewer to sit through nearly 2 hours of music, and I get it. So that's why, I don't go reach for this every week. But when I know I want to put on, I've got something to do that I want some accompanying music to, and it's like 2 hours of my time that I want to invest, this or the first album that we'll talk about are great.
Yeah.
This is not a let's play a playlist or we're going to shuffle some songs from this mixed with other stuff. That doesn't compute for me. I got to hear The Great Adventure through and through, and it's just really, really good. It's not quite as successful as the album that came before it.
I agree.
But I think, because I don't think it's as immediate as that album. I think there's a little bit more complexity here.
That's
a little
right.
more jamming on this one, but it's still an amazing work, and I really dig it, and that's my number three.
Right on. I agree with everything you're saying, and that's why I think even when they do those albums, they have to play it like they do when you do Tommy. start to finish. They don't just handpick songs. I mean, later they
Yeah, I
do.
mean, they did it for this tour. They picked out, because there
Yeah,
are, all right, let's be real. There are one or two tracks from each that
absolutely,
really stand out that are like, and I get
absolutely.
that. But for the most part, it's like if you want to hear stuff from either of those albums, you kind of got to listen to the whole thing, right through and
Hmm.
through. And they
And for
even
those,
start off this album with like, melody lines from the end of the first
yes,
album, which is kind
yes,
of
you hear that one line, the hook line. Yeah, I
yeah.
noticed that, and it would come throughout this package. And yeah, that's very true. And for those who haven't seen, there's also a DVD and or CD DVD combo where you get them performing that Great Adventure album, and it's called the Great Adventure. Great, great performance, and like if you were blown away with the album and you said, "Wow, this band is really good," see them do it live. See them do exactly what you heard. And these are not a band that plays all time. They got so many different projects, and you would think they would, won't able to replicate the album like they do, but they do. They do it and more. It just seems more powerful because it's live and the passion is there. And I'm sure the audience feedback is only in heighten the emotion and their playing. But honestly, there's what you hear on the album. They watch them do it live. It's great. It's amazing. Fantastic. And one of the things you can say about the Neal Morse Band, when you get those CDs, a lot of times they offer giving you a bonus DVD that allow you to see the making of it, how you can get, like the fly on the wall kind of experience about how they put this stuff together, where we're going, what we were thinking. And it's really nice because then you get to appreciate the role that each member put into the band.
Back to you, number two.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Obviously, I'm just gonna find it here. It's the latest one, uh, Innocent in Danger. I'm surprised. It's like one of my first of all. Let me say, this is one of my favorite albums from 2021. It definitely ranked up in my top 10, maybe in my top five. I loved it so much on the very first listen, and this is something I don't have to commit, like you were saying. You can play this any given time because it was all song structured to the point where it is there to make a more poppy flavor, more easy accessible, but still in the prog world, you want to have all that wow factor that they're famous for. They've done that, and very interesting about the white mask, the dark mask, innocent and danger. Two separate discs. The first disc is all these great proggy pop songs. Uh, Do It All Again. Bird on a Wire, Your Place in the Sun. When I heard them do that live, man, I was hairs were standing up on my back of my neck and my arms. I couldn't believe how good they sound, and it was just so emotional. Another story to tell. Again, all these harmonies, these vocal harmonies are ear candy, right from the beginning to the end. The way it had to be. Kind of a Pink Floyd Breathe vibe, with they even throw that in the live set. But I love the feeling and the passion and the mood that it creates. And then, of course, Neil, by the way, just so people know, Neil actually, because he just did Transatlantic, did a Flying Colors thing, and he was working already on his own project. He actually, I think it's the first gig where he didn't, I mean, first album writing, where he didn't come there with stuff. Everybody else had some stuff. Randy had stuff, Bill had stuff, right? But um, but he wrote every morning while they're still in bed or dragging their feet in breakfast. He gets inspired from the last night's session and write all these
Okay.
beautiful gems. And one of the things he woke up was to put that acoustic piece called Emergent or whatever it's pronounced. Just a little acoustic piece before Not Afraid.
Emergent.
He
Emergent's
felt that,
great.
yeah, he thought it needed some more guitar, and he writes it on the spot. And what a beautiful piece! It's something like we would expect Steve Howe and others that would do in a prog record, and he did that. Not Afraid. And then there's not. I mean, this band does do covers a bonus thing that never put it on a tracking of the album because they were so great writers. They never had to do a cover, but they did that cover "Bridge Over Trouble water their own way, and it was such an epic the way they blended from the song prior to that, and I like that song already from Simon Garfunkel. I even like Elvis' presentation of it, and they kind of put all that in there. They had the big orchestra like Elvis would have done back in the way he sang it. So Neil Morse carried that register, and then Eric stepped it up and sing that high version of that, like Art Garfunkel would do, but even better. I mean, with a lot of conviction. Like these guys, you wouldn't know it, but you almost thought they wrote the song because they were so passionate in the performance. And I mean everybody in that band. And I love the arrangement they did to keep some things interesting with some of the drum shuffles in there and some of the little cool thing they did it to keep it interesting. Because if you know the other version and then you hear this version, it's like, wow, they made an epic version of Bridge Over Troubled Water. And they see them do that live is an emotional thing. I'm telling you. Unless you're emotionally bankrupt, I can't see how you cannot be moved watching it. And you know,
I cried.
me,
I cried watching him play that a couple weeks ago.
right
I was so
on.
moved by it. I was, and that's not something I do regularly at a concert. But I literally, when they got done playing that, I looked at Eric Porter and his buddy, and I literally had tears in my eyes. I'm like, man, that was just absolutely moving. Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah,
Even Neil had a couple moments where he stopped and started weeping right on stage because he was like,
yeah.
he's in the middle of one of the greatest bands on the planet, playing this wonderful stuff, and the harmonies and the feeling. If you can't feel the um, the emotion, like I said, I have to feel your pulse and know you got a heartbeat because I couldn't be immune to that. That charm was there, and the album delivers that. But it's one thing seeing it too. But I'm telling you, you put your earbuds on, headphones, you'll be really into it. Then what they do with the second disc, they make an epic with two songs. That's Prague, folks, and it's called "Not Afraid." It's like the part two of continuation of theme, and then they did it "Beyond the Years," which is they originally call it the epic, and it is an epic.
Yeah, 30.
That was the working title when they were working on it, and what a fantastic uh, one of the best proggy stuff they did in their career. Like to do saying, hey, we're gonna dedicate. I mean, we know Transatlantic done it many times. We know even Dream Theater. These guys have done it in their previous work. But coming into a band together, they haven't touched something like that since the first album where they dedicate 20 minutes to, or in this case, 31 minutes and 23 seconds to greatness. And folks, that is amazing. We know how we love Closer to the Edge and how great that can hold your attention for that length of time. Beyond the Years is like that. And it's for those who haven't heard it yet, you got to check that out.
Yep. Well, that's my number two as well. And yeah, I mean, you basically said it all there. If it wasn't for our number one, obviously we're both picking the same number one.
Yes.
This would be their magnum opus. And what I love about it so much
Yes.
is that you can, on this album, you can listen to any of the tracks individually.
That's right.
But it's great how you got the Innocence disc one, Danger disc two, it's like the light and the light and shade, so to speak. Disc one is just, everything is so uplifting on it. Man, I gotta tell you, when I saw them a couple of weeks ago when they launched into Burn on a Wire, and I remember seeing the video, and the video is so much fun. But like, it's like the exact same thing seeing them on stage. You know, and Neil is jumping up and down and having a blast, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, holy cow, this song is so infectious. Do It All Again is great. Your Place in the Sun, gorgeous. Another Story to Tell, The Way It Had to Be. I mean, these are just all really, really great tracks. And then, Not Afraid, and the first part, and then Bridge Over Troubled Water. I mean, the whole, the sequencing is just really, really great. And it's prog, but there's folk, there's pop, there's some hard rock on there. And then you got, the disc two, which is just mind blowing. And I love the Beyond the Years epic. I think it's just fantastic.
Me too.
I mean, they throw the pop hooks in there. You got symphonic prog, you got hard rock muscle, you got virtuoso soloing, tight arrangements. Like I said, and this is a new album, right? This only just came out last year. It's not often that I will, connect so strongly with a brand new album from a band that's been around for a little while. And again, this album is not even what, a year old, but it's that good. And I think for me, Rick, I think seeing them play this live really solidified it for me. And I
Yes.
liked this a lot before then. I like it even more now after I've seen it live. And Mike, if you're watching, that's something I kind of wanted to happen with your former bandmates after they put The Astonishing out, because I didn't like that album, and then I went to see it live, and I thought I would like it more when I went to see it live, and I liked it less. So here, I really dug this a lot when it came out, and then saw him play it live, and I'm like, wow, it just clicked with me even more. So yeah, this is great. I would say, for anybody watching this show, if you kind of don't know where to start with this band, and you like prog, but you're maybe not a huge prog head yet, and you want something that will hook you in pretty quickly, I would say get this album first, because I
I
think,
agree with that.
right, because I mean, I think the first
Yes.
disc is so accessible, and then they'll start to adventure into the second disc and be like, oh, you know what, this is very similar to the first disc, except the songs are longer and there's more going on instrumentally, so to speak. But yeah,
That's right.
this is fantastic stuff. Really,
That
really
would
good.
be a great advice if you're gonna start playing. And I mean the same way. I almost start thinking, I'm really surprised that a new album that's not even a year old for me, though I've been playing it a lot, that ranks that high in the catalog. Who's a strong band? It's not like they got a weak catalog and this is the best thing they've done lately. This
Yeah.
is an amazing. I didn't like I told them I couldn't believe that I'd be ranking a band from doing great greater to awesome awesomeness. I mean, these guys never cease to amaze me, and I'm just blown away that they can outdo what they've done. But again, going to the next album, obviously we both picked this one, and it because it is the masterpiece. It's like Pete Townsend wrote many albums, but Tommy and Quadrophenia is it. Well, to them, those two are it for those guys. And like you said earlier, the difference between this album and The Great Adventure is accessible all the way through it, as proggy as it is, and it's just beautifully arranged, beautifully production, vocally, the whole concept from the long day to the awesome overture. And one thing Mike has always have a hand in doing these overtures, right? He does that with every project he did, even when the Dream Theater days, and it's always awesome. And I know he got that idea from the Tommy stuff, right? He's a big fan of the of Tommy and Quadrophenia, and these guys respect that, and they carry it over in their own project. The Dream, the City of Destruction,
Yeah.
fantastic song,
Yes.
very powerful messages. There's some real. The lyrics are relevant, folks, and to the 21st century that we live in. Some of the stuff is important.
Yeah.
We have to
So
go where to
far
go.
gone. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Make no sense. I love that. Yeah. So far gone. The vocals on that
Ugh.
is just amazing. The Way of the Fool. That's another great vocal song. And that's what I like about this. Musically, I could spend hours and just talking about the complexity. We already know what an awesome player Mike Portner, and he doesn't miss any opportunity to fill in whatever it needs it to bring out the wow factor. But that could be said about Randy, that could be said about Bill, and that could be said about Eric, because these guys do that. And it's that's what's so incredible is that just you're always marveling so many things that's going on. If people thought that The Lamb was incredible, that you listen to the album, you're always picking up different things you didn't pick up before, just trying to concentrate on individual performances, it blow your mind. And then if you just listen to what's on the surface, that way the song is product, the storyline, that'll keep you hooked all the way through. There's so many great factor about the way this album was put together, or double album, I should say. And then you get to the second disc, where again it starts to wrapping up the story. But Slave to the Mind, Man in the Iron Cage, really, really dramatic scene there. I'm Running, I love that one, and of course the very end, Broken Sky, Long Day as a reprise. It sounds so cohesive. It sounds just like Tommy does when they have a little bit of elements of pieces of music all throughout the record. Quadrophenia did that too. Couple little hooks, signature line that they do for the long day. It's sewed in, sandwiched in, whatever you want to throw between these songs that makes it feel like that one big album. And that's what's wonderful about it. The Wall was famous of doing that, and so they did that too. To me, this is one of the greatest concept record rock opera of the 21st century. This is equally a part of all those great stuff that we enjoyed in the 20th century, and nobody dared to touch stuff like this like these guys did, and it was successful. I mean, I've heard a lot of people put double albums and a concept album, and then some of it, it's impressive, but never blows me away. This blew me away. This really did. I was like, and I'm still affected by it. I'm still emotionally attached to it since I heard it first.
Yeah, it's 2 hours well worth spent, right? Because it clocks
Yes.
at just under 2 hours, and yeah, it's got. I mean, I don't how much more I can say because you did a great job on this. Great individual pieces on it, but you got to take it all in as a whole. The musicianship is outstanding. It's pretty heavy in spots. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't go so. There's some stuff on this album, especially maybe even on the follow up that is comparable to some of the stuff that Dream Theater does.
I agree.
I mean, but I think the difference is they mix that with these light kind of pop tracks and little acoustic things and whatnot, which I think is what adds the variety on here. But man, all the guys in the band just contributing, they work so well together. It's well written, well arranged, and there's catchy hooks everywhere you go. And I think that's what makes this band so good. And that's one of the reasons that I have always followed the music of Neal Morse, because everything that he works on has that element. Neal Morse could never do like some kind of avant-garde type of dissonant type of project, because that's not in his DNA. And if you're someone who craves melodic hooks, everything he's ever worked on is full of that, and that's what makes him so enjoyable to so many of us. So yeah, it's my number one too. Not even. I shouldn't say it's not even close, but this, when we sat down to do this, I automatically was like, okay, number one. End of story.
Yeah, me too.
It's the other three that are like, all right, how do we figure that out? This to me was a fantastic achievement. It still is, and it's like you said, it's one of the great concept albums of the last X amount of years, easily.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I said the same thing. I was thinking, okay, automatically, and I thought this being the sister album was going to be number two, but after hearing the new album and the first album, because that first album is just a shorter version of what they did here, because they put the poppy songs and had the epic at the very end. Just these songs are just amazing, and you know what? It's everything that we like about old classic rock. Some of those songs gave me that Toto vibe and that Kansas vibe, and yeah, it's all original. It's just that it sounds a little bit familiar because they're in that neighborhood of that, that type of music that we love. That there's a familiar quality to it, but it's all original, brand new. It's like it's new music. I don't want to get everybody misunderstanding, but it just referenced a lot of that vibe that we enjoy about those great albums of the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you have it, everybody. 4 albums from the Neal Morse Band, ranked, but they're all great. So if you are familiar with these guys, please rank them as you like them down in the comments below. If you've never listened to them before, go out and check out a couple of these albums. Come back, report back, let us know what you think, because there's some fantastic material on all of them. They're all worth owning, all worth hearing, at least at minimum. So, and if you get a chance to see them out in the tour, I'm not sure if I think they're done though. Yeah, they're done now. But maybe next time they come around, you will have a blast. 2.5 hours of just, amazing, uplifting music with incredible musicianship and pretty damn heavy too. So
yeah, and good people.
And
if
good
you get
people,
a chance
yes.
to meet them, you would think with somebody the talented they are, they would be snobbed. Their egos will be too big for because they're so talented. They have the reason to brag and be that kind of person, but they're not. They're humble people. They're really kind, and yeah, they treated you just like they respect their fans. I can tell you that so much. They appreciate that people love the music, and they're encouraged by it. So they don't think they got the shit together, they appreciate hearing that. So give them some love. Go check it out. If you haven't joined the Neal Morse Band camp yet, you're overdue. Go start with the latest album. If that doesn't do it for you, then nothing will, because that is a fantastic way to a gateway. I agree with your suggestion.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time, all together.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Rick LaBonte for coming on for this episode, but don't touch that dial because we've got another show for you planned for today. Rick and I are going to sit and chat for just a little bit about his brand new album, Living It Up. And we're going to hear some commentary from Rick himself on the creation of this album and some of the inspiration. So that is coming up. You've heard me talk about it. Now we're going to hear Rick talk about it. So that's coming up in just a little bit here on the channel. So stay tuned for that. For Rick LaBonte, I am Pete Pardo. See you real soon here. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.